Welcome back to another episode of Heart and Hustle. Do do do.
Do, do, do.
Man, that never gets old. I hope
No,
it's
it
not
doesn't.
getting old to you guys because I don't know. It's
Oh, well.
one of my favorite parts of the podcast. All right, honey. So we're on a time crunch, as my honey bunny just reminded us. So we're going to try to be less long winded and actually just get out our thoughts. So let's see how that goes.
Today, we are going to talk about our list. There's 5 things that everyday people probably do. And we're going to see, is it really that important to your life? And are you doing it and using it wisely?
Yeah. So the point, I guess, at least what I think is basically like to audit how you're spending your time and energy. And, you know, unless you actively are tuning into these conversations or like bringing these specific points to the front of your mind, they're probably on autopilot. So yeah, to have like that awareness of like, am I really maxing out my time and effort, or am I putting it in a way that I choose to? Because if you choose to spend your time on these things, like fine, but just make sure you're actively making that choice. And I think a lot of people don't actively audit their time, which is the issue.
Right. And obviously, these aren't 24/7 our opinions are law kind of thing. It's again, every episode, like we've said in previous episodes, it's for eye opening. So,
Yeah.
what's number 1?
So number 1 is screen time. How much does that really matter to you? That's kind of broad because there are a lot of important things on the other side of the screen. We talk to people all day. Social media is important if used correctly and used as a tool. TV can be important sometimes. So like screen time is at this point part of our everyday life, whether like no matter what you're doing. But if you have bigger goals and dreams, are you using your screen time effectively? So one of the things I was very, very specific about, because obviously we all scroll, right? I used to love doom scrolling before work, after work. Like I was a bartender. That was the way I used to like tune out. Loved it. I've always been big on social media. So whatever, love scrolling. And one of the things I got really specific about even before I met you was making sure every time I'm scrolling, I'm at least learning something, or I'm tuning into specific people. Like I'm using it to my advantage. So that the things that I'm taking in, even though a lot of it is just like my dumb friends playing or whatever at the time, I still made sure to tap into specific mentors. Later in the game, I made a rule to myself that every time I opened my phone, I had to create a piece of content. And that was kind of the gateway to be able to even watch like TikTok or something, is I had to use it effectively. And that was a super game changer. So I use my screen time very effectively now, but that is definitely a built muscle and a like specific skill that I built. Like
I
specifically.
did just want to say that some of our viewers are going to think that I changed that for you because of the way you started that. You should have
What'd I
said
say?
something I've been doing since before I met you, where you said something I did before I met you, implying that you no longer do and I'm a bad influence.
Oh,
But
I
she
didn't
still
notice
does it,
that.
and I'm a great influence.
Yeah, no, you absolutely
Anyway.
are. Let's make that clear. That's funny.
So that's the positive side of screen time, right? I think one of the bad things about screen time, or bad habits that a lot of us have developed over the years, and I think everybody is guilty of it at one point. Some people use television as screen time, which is totally fine for decompressing, right? The downside to that is there's a lot of times where we've all just been guilty of using the TV, but then we're still on our phone doom scrolling.
Oh, yeah.
So now you're adding multiple layers of bad habits, because if you're going to turn the TV on to decompress and you just want to watch like an aimless movie or TV show, great, by all means, do that weekly anyway. I mean, it's good to decompress. If you're doing that and then also doom scrolling, what are you accomplishing doing that? I personally think there's a layer of decompression that's getting taken away by doing that.
Oh.
You're not decompressing. You're adding more noise. You're adding more information.
You're overstimulating
You're
yourself
adding more
more.
overstimulation. So I think that a lot of people
I like that.
have done that, right? And who has ever been happy with what you're watching while you're scrolling? Nobody.
Dang, that's so true. Even I remember being so upset when I was little with like, I want to watch a movie, not when I was super little. Well, if I want to watch a movie or like if I want to show somebody something, I want you to be tuned into it because there's a reason that I want to show you this. I either enjoy it or I want you to learn something, whatever. And I get like really upset if you're scrolling on your phone while I'm trying to show you something that I love that might be on the TV or whatever it is. That's
I'm
a
going to say
really,
this
really
to
good
not
point.
get you on your tangent either, but we're huge on screen time around our kid.
Oh,
If you're just going to be sitting on your phone, just leave.
You gotta go.
Respectfully. Like, I'm not being mean about it. I'm not, judging you off of it. It's just, if you've met our kid, there's no way that you can't find something to interact with her about.
she's so interesting and extroverted. Yeah, if you're not interacting with her, it's because you're choosing not
Yeah,
to, and you can
100%.
go choose not to at home. We have kicked people out of our house, and this is especially when she was younger, and it meant, I don't want to say it meant more, but like we were more firm on it because that was like the foundation. But I think there was like probably 2 or 3 times that I know I specifically asked people to leave. I think one of them might have been a family member. Like if you're gonna sit here on your phone the whole time, go do that somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's not how we operate, and we just.
Now, we constantly have something on the TV, whether it's
I grew up that way. Did
a
you?
podcast. I
With,
didn't
like,
spend a lot of
something-
time in the house. No.
Okay.
Don't unpack my childhood trauma. You love doing that.
I can't help it.
But we always have something on, whether it's a podcast, if it's just us, or we'll have some kind of educational content for Milani of some sort, or if it's her decompression time, like after school, we always give her a little bit of screen time because it's decompression. Now, screen time meaning television. So she sits far enough away. It's not in her face. It's nothing. She's not watching kids unbox toys on YouTube. It's more likely a movie or a TV show that is for her age demographic that isn't going to be, if it's neutral, great, but we're not going to make it negative.
Yeah,
it's not going to negatively impact you. It might not positively impact you other than being decompressed.
And
But
that's
it's going to be neutral. So as far as information taken goes.
Yeah.
So
I just believe in doing the best with what you have, like doing the best you can with what you have. So like we are in the age of screen times, blah, blah, but like do the little bit of research to find out the not worst thing to put on TV for your kid, because now research shows that like screen times and colors and lights and all these things, they're how incredibly like thrown in your face at a rapid speed they are. It's negatively impacting our kids, and you can literally find that probably on the first page of Google.
Anything.
So it's just like doing those little bits of things like, okay, yeah, screen time is fine, but like how can we make sure I'm not negatively impacting my kids? And there was one more thing that you brought up that I just thought was such a brilliant point, because in the personal development world, and I actually teach this in one of my courses, is they're really big on habit stacking. And when you're trying to change your life for the better, what you're actually doing is just putting a bunch of good habits into your life, and they're replacing your bad habits. And when that ratio, like when you have more good than bad, obviously your life gets better. And one of the ways you can really maximize, Ed Milet talks about this all the time, one of the ways you can really maximize your positive habits is by habit stacking. So every day while you brush your teeth, because that's a normal habit that you have, you make sure you're listening to a podcast, you make sure you're saying your affirmations. And by like lumping those things, those positive things together, you make sure you hit more positives throughout your day, and it's just on autopilot because it's part of what you do rather than like this big task and to-do list. But if you're not mindful of it, Trav just explained how you can accidentally be habit stacking in a negative way. And that's just the law of polarity. Any good can be used for bad. It's what you choose to do with anything. So now that you're actually aware of that, if you still continually choose to habit stack negative habits on top of each other instead of the positive ones, you are allowed to make that choice. It's free will, but just remember you are actively making that choice, because after this conversation, honestly, there's no excuse because it was brought to your awareness.
yeah, practice and reps, which this ties into our second.
The second one is reading.
Correct. So screen time, if you're using it for reading, which a lot of people do, books on their phones and tablets and such.
Even magazines, research, like that stuff on Google or whatever
Requires screen
counts
time.
as
Yeah.
reading.
But so many people don't read. And I think a lot of people think reading has to be this intricate, have to have a chapter book, because growing up in school, they try to like put it into your head that, and they have, and it honestly, it was probably one of the only things in life that school, when we were going to school, that they said reading is one of the best things you can do, and make sure you read something every day. And obviously every kid was just like, I don't need to read, blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
That was one of the things that checked.
it did, but their fault was nobody taught you why. They just
Yeah.
made it seem like reading is good for brain activity.
Yeah.
And yes, that is accurate, but most teachers didn't even say that. They just said it's good if you read something every day.
And more or less like, this is just what we have to do every day.
Right, but studies show what it can do for you. It can check those bad habits. It can make your mind open. It can create opportunities for you. It does make you smarter. I think that was the only thing that they said was it would make you smarter. And that checked, right? So it's not like we're talking like, oh, you're going to need this pre-calculus course every day of your life as an adult, which no, you don't. I don't even remember how to do it at this point, but
Been doing fine without it.
correct. And I do a lot of daily math involvement with the business.
You're actually good at math too. It's your thing. So anyway.
But yeah, so reading, a lot of people, I think it opens your mind the most than anything you could do. Because if you know how to tap into reading, you're going to read in whatever tone the author wants you to read in. Kind of like if you just read it on a line somewhere and it says, oh, do you say tomato or tomato? It says tomato, tomato if you say tomato, but somehow your brain automatically goes tomato, tomato. So whoever put it up there wanted you to say it that way because that's what we were taught. And, so our brains, no matter how much we do or do not read, if we're tapped in without distractions, we're already going to know what the tone that the author is trying to set is. That's what a good author does. So I think being able to read can open up your mind to different thought process.
Because you're not, like when you're watching TV, they're straight up like giving you the tone and all those things. Like your brain doesn't have, the ability to fill in those gaps. When you read,
you might also dissect something differently. Whereas you can read something about, let's just say, I can't even think of something everyday life. But if you go about thinking about one topic or conversation every way possible, and you're only ever thinking of it in that stance, but then someone writes something and you see it in a different light, it might not change your mind, but it also might make you say, I never thought of it like that.
That's like my favorite realization to have.
And that's
it.
It doesn't need to change your mind, but just the fact that you can sit there and go, I never thought of it like that. I don't agree with it though.
Right. That perspective is interesting.
That's the point of reading. Like, I don't think you get that with scrolling on your phone.
No, you can't.
And watching TV, some TV shows you can, because some directors are really good and writers. So
yeah, but there's a certain part of your brain that you're working, and it's connecting to other parts of your brain when you're having.
There
those
are way
realizations.
more television shows out there that are just for mindless attention than there are got you sucked in and have to sit on the couch week to week to wait for the episode. There's way more useless TV out there.
Well, they're coming out at such a rapid pace as well that like the thought and all that stuff behind it has to be less in order to throw them up the way they do.
The other thing about reading is, like almost everybody always says about almost every single time when they have the book and they have the TV show or the movie, the book was better.
You know why though? I read something about that, and it has to do because your brain wants to work. That's the point of a brain, and it has to do with that because in the book there are still parts of it that your brain is filling in on its own. So when the TV show doesn't fill it in that same way that your brain did, you're gonna feel like, wait, this isn't as good as the thought I came up with, or the way that I.
It's funny you say that because one thing that ever since we started dating that she hated was, if we watch something, just a movie, like we were to go to the movie or we watched a movie on TV that neither of us have seen. I have never done this reading a book. Whereas I'm watching a TV show or a movie and something happens, the scene goes by, and then I'm like, oh, great, so this is what's going to happen. And
He's
then
one of those.
Bang, it happens. It's just, I don't know. I've seen enough certain types of TV that it intertwines, but a book, I don't think I've accurately been able to do that. And I think that has to do with there's a longer setup reading a book.
I also wonder
if you're reading a 20 chapter book or a 15 chapter book, that's a thick book of a high level reader. You're talking multiple hundreds of pages, and your average person is not going to read that in a day. Whereas in a movie, there's skimming parts compared to a book. And then you're getting everything you need to know in 2.5 hours, and you're just watching it. Now, obviously, visual learning is a lot better than text learning for the most part for a lot of people. And I think that's why, but also I don't know, my brain never
Your
veers
brain,
off when reading a book to think about what's going to happen. Now, obviously, like if I'm talking about it with somebody, that's one thing. But when I'm watching a movie, I'm watching the scene and instantly thinking about the next three things that could happen. Whereas reading a book, I'm just so dialed in that I don't know.
yeah. And also your brain like is very unique as we talk about a lot, but like and your brain likes to work at a rapid speed. So I bet you that's exactly why every time you're watching anything on TV, your brain can't help but to think ahead and to because it's almost so
Everything, always.
mindless and like your brain wants to work and your brain works really well. So like you specifically. So I bet you that's exactly why every time you're watching TV, like your brain can't help but to think ahead and you think of all the ways and the you've come up with every scenario. But
And
in a
even
book,
if I
you don't
don't,
have the extra mental capacity.
and even if I'm wrong, the funny thing about it is it's funny because sometimes we have watched something. I'm like, oh, this is what's going to happen. And then like I could be wrong or I was only halfway correct. But then we both look at each other and I'm like, dang, that would have been way better if it was done that
Always.
way.
Yeah.
But I'm not the writer, I'm not the director. They thought theirs was better and they have a job doing it. So maybe their way was, but no, it wasn't.
Yeah.
So reading was the second one. So the third thing I think people do daily or weekly that are you doing it correctly or appropriating the right amount of time for?
Or the way that is it in line with what you want to do and how you want to spend your time, really? You get to choose. Family time is
that
next.
was huge. So
that's like our number one.
I would say our biggest thing in this house is family time.
Yeah.
We just discussed on the last episode where I believe it was the last episode where we take our calendar now and we put our family time into the calendar and then create everything else around it, unless like there's sports involved, right? You can't help that.
Certain commitments, obviously.
Now, like all of our free time is family first and then the calendar, and that's including work. So if we have a meeting or if we have a call or a group that we're in, anything like that, our family time is on the block first, and then it comes everything else. Whereas everybody else, not everybody else, but a large majority of this country is not just family time, but everything else is after work.
Yeah. And work is always the number one because what you've equated work to be is like the stability and it's like the number one necessity in order for you to have anything. And that's something that we have just been very particular about forever, is that we weren't going to operate that way. Even before we had Milani or even like talked about that, it was just really important that we weren't like locked down to anybody else's schedule, especially like building a life for somebody else on their schedule. I just can't make that make sense. So we actively made that decision by having these discussions that we're having right now of like, how do you want to spend your family time? And like,
nobody can doubt it because I walked away because I needed to spend more family time.
And that's just being intentional. And now when you are intentional and you know that I don't want life to look this way, I do want life to look this way, I want to spend my time this way, XYZ. If you didn't walk away from the business that was taking up all your time, you wouldn't have the time, energy, or capacity to have other opportunities or build other platforms or businesses or anything that will allow for the life that you actually want. And that's why it's so unfortunate that other people don't actively think about how they want to live their life, who they actually want to be, like what do you want your day-to-day to be, what kind of parent do you want to be, what resources do you want to give your kid, and like just all of these bigger topics. Because if you decide that all of those answers that you give yourself aren't in line with the 9 to 5 that you have, it is your responsibility to do something about it. So it's either find a different job, find a higher paying job, find a work from home job, start a business. I mean, honestly,
there's nothing wrong with having a 9 to 5. There's nothing wrong with being a business owner. There's nothing wrong with being a freelancer, right? It's just, how are you taking what we're saying and applying it to your daily life? And does this make you think that there's something you can change?
Yeah. And again, always goes back to just being intentional about it. If you're living a life where you watch TV all day and you're at your 9 to 5 or you work from home and you enjoy all of that, then by all means, more of that, but everybody's built for a different life. So just make sure you're being very intentional.
I think family time and parenting is so subconscious that so many people equate like, I'm a good parent. and this is not this is not what I think people actually say, but their actions seem as if, oh, I have a roof over my kid's head, I feed them, they have clothes, and maybe they do an extracurricular activity. Like those are the bare minimums that you need to be doing. That doesn't put you in a category of parenting. It just calls you a parent. There's a big difference.
That's literally keeping alive.
It keeps you away from being a bad one, but you're staying at the level of, hey, I'm a parent. And I get it. There's money, there's all this other factors and all that stuff to where you might not be able to do more right away. But that's the whole point. What are you focusing on to get you to the next level, to where you're giving your kids and family an opportunity to have more time together, do more things together, go see more things together, and more free time together. It just, if it's only eat, sleep, rinse, repeat, then you're not growing. And like we talked, and that was what we talked about in the last podcast, was your average parent household today, if both parents work, spend less than 4 hours a day with their kid.
And at that point, how much are you really raising them?
What are you impacting them on?
Some people, like, that's the life they dreamed of. They were going to go to their corporate job and they were going to come home and give their kids dinner and put them to bed, and they're living their dream life that way. Love that for you. Don't really like it for your kids, but that's fine, because it's important. Everybody has to have like a different experience with this. I'm really grateful that we were so intentional about how we were going to go about this. And
again, totally fine having a 9 to 5, totally fine owning your own business, totally fine being a freelancer, totally fine being a stay-at-home parent. What are you actually using it for, though?
Yeah.
You know, are you just milking it because your significant other makes a bunch of money and they say you don't have to work and then you take care of the kids? Well, like, sure, if you take care of the kids, but then the kids are in school, what are you doing at home while you're just a stay-at-home parent?
There's so much room for opportunity to get to where you want to be.
Help your partner get out of their 9 to 5 or their business, or put things in place so you have more family time. Don't just be like, oh, I finally get a break. Okay, do it on some days, by all means. Everybody needs it. But
as a high achiever, and those are the people that are probably listening to this show, like the business owners, the high achievers, the people who want more.
Just sit back and actually ask your question. If my kids were to have kids, is what I'm showing them the ideal thing I would want for my grandchildren? And I guarantee you, over 90%. If you're
built like us.
But yeah, no, that's fine. But I'm saying you're at even 90% at minimum of this country, the answer is going to be no.
Yeah.
But they're stuck in a bad habit or a repetition that they might not know how to get out. They don't know the answer. But again, the whole point of this is, hey, maybe open up and we'll get there.
It starts with the awareness of it, and then the decision that, like, this isn't how I want to spend my time because it's not conducive to where I want to be.
We'll always need employees for any business, anytime, anywhere.
Yeah, they're very important.
But this topic was family.
Yeah.
Which means is inviting the fact that you have children or a child. So not just a married couple and you just 9 to 5, because you're going to spend more time with each other than 4 hours a day because of, typically, if you're not working opposite schedules, because you get to stay up later.
And your priorities get to be different when you don't have a little one that you're actively raising, that actively is watching you. And like the countdown is on in ways of like being able to provide the life.
Right.
Okay. So we're running out of time here, and
not running out of time. We got segue.
You're right. Yeah, it's fine. So socialization is the next one. I feel like this is like an easy one, kind of less of a no-brainer. But audit how much time in your free time you're spending, I don't know, going out and socializing, but and in what way?
You want to know what's crazy real quick? When I was, and I don't have, Facebook anymore for like that, but when I had my old Facebook, before I deleted it, I think I was 19 or 20 years old. Kid you not, hand to God. I made a post one time and I said, if you are living week to week to where the most exciting thing that's happening for you is that you're bragging about you can't wait for the weekend so you can go to the bar or you can go to the club, you're not living a good life. And I got dragged for that, obviously, 19, 20 years old with friends that I was with in high school. And I always hung out with older people. So a lot of my friends on there were older than me anyway. I was the youngest, right? Like I was the one that either had to get snuck into a bar because I knew the bouncer or whatever the case may be, or the club. But I was always there, but if I went out for a birthday party or something like that, but I had so many friends and acquaintances that I knew every single week they could not wait till the end of the week for nothing other than to have a drink out and about.
Yeah.
Again, socialing is fine. If you dissect what I said and you take the point of what I'm telling you is that mindset is you're not living. I can tell you right now, you're not happy with where you are in life. And it's because you're doing constantly that.
Yep.
I
And
was
it's up
guilty
to
of
you.
going somewhere every Saturday, but it was the only thing I did. Other than that, the other 6 days a week, it was all business and working and trying to improve my life. So if I went out on a Saturday night, it might have been 2 times a week or whatever, but we tried to mix it up and make an activity into it, right? So it's like, we would go to the local bar, or we would go bowling, or we would go to Topgolf, or we would do something, whereas you were actually had some kind of like motor skill involved, not just like you sit around, have a drink, talk about how bad your week was, and hey, let's do this again next week.
So like play beer pong, because at least it helps with your depth perception.
Exactly. Just do something.
Yeah. No, really.
Like as stupid as that sounds, just do something.
Yeah. Because honestly, imagine how those reps add up for somebody who doesn't actively do something to like add value in some way to your life. And
you know what the difference is when you do something? Sorry to cut you off. I forgot because you brought up beer pong and it reminded me, even though I forgot in my own thought, was even when you lose at beer pong, I don't know. I have never met anybody who gets so angry that they're mad that they lost at beer pong. So when you do anything while you're out, if your curricular is, I want to go have a drink on the weekend, which is fine. You deserve it. Do you? But like, have you ever really seen so many people get angry at an action? Like, oh, I'm going to go to Topgolf, have a drink. Oh, I'm so mad I swung the club. I'm so mad I missed that cup. I'm so mad I didn't get a strike. I'm so mad I missed this, whatever. Like, it doesn't really happen like that. You're just creating more happiness one way or the other. Like,
probably because physically you're putting your energy to something. Whereas like if you're just sitting around talking at a bar for hours and hours, and then like the alcohol and then like the energy build up, and then there's a bunch of
it's a
fights
downer.
at bars.
Not for nothing. It's a downer.
Mm-hmm.
So
and it's also an amplifier to where like it amplifies the person you already are and the mood you already like have underlying.
So basically, definitely just your social awareness. Like again, like we said with our calendar, put the things you need to put in first, and then put your social life around it.
Yeah. When we had a kid, obviously our social life drastically decreased. And that was all part of the plan. We don't have family locally to be able to like really help, especially when she was younger. So we knew we were putting our head down and like building this rock solid foundation for our family for the time. And honestly, that like natural pulling away and changing of like where we were at in life and our friend circle and group really gave us the opportunity to actively decide the type of people that we want to even socialize with. And I know during that whole period is when I got super good with boundaries. And especially because socializing for people like me, who is an empath and naturally a leader and naturally a coach, like I can't help but to speak life to people that I'm around and correct you. You know what I mean? Like fill in the gaps. Like that's how I operate. And I've always been that way. And that's extremely draining when it's to the wrong people. So that really gave me a chance to be able to get really specific about the people that I gave my energy to and the people that I allowed myself to be around and whose perceptions and perspectives I tapped into. And that was the other like really key part of socialization in general, because I wasn't out here socializing with everybody. Before that, I was a bartender. All my friends are bartenders. That's what we bartenders do. We go out and we just socialize. And I'm the most social person I know, honestly. Like I am an extrovert. But getting specific on who you really like let in and spend your precious time with is so freaking important. And it goes like way beyond just like who you want to go out with this week, but like who are you inviting into your house to be hanging around your kids and having these deeper conversations with? Who can we have these conversations with? Not everybody.
No.
Like any of these conversations we have on the podcast, I could not have with our old friend
100%.
group.
Which friendly reminder, like you just said, you beat me to it, was our old friend group. So everything we talk about, it's not that we're on a pedestal and we're better or we're higher or we're just this and that. We learned from everything that we talk about and changed and adapted our life to then now be able to show people. So I do think sometimes some listeners might just sit back and be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, and they have that whole mentality of like when a millionaire says like making money is not hard or this and that. And it's like, oh, yeah, because you have $1 million. Well, like it's actually proven that most people that have money come from busted up families, busted up houses. They grew up poor. So
And the way that
people
you do
don't know
that-
that. People think that just rich people are just like they're rich because they had a better life and they had two parents in the home and they already had money and they didn't struggle. And like, you're wrong. Actually, some of the more successful millionaires, not billionaires, but millionaires out there come from an environment very much broken
Yeah.
than you think.
Especially, I feel like today, because we now have the tools to really go from those broken families to be able to build the life you exactly want. And people can tap into those tools at just like a way higher rate. So yeah, absolutely. And the only way people get there is by actively deciding that you're going to be obsessed with getting there. And part of that is being able to cut off your old circle. And it's not because you dislike them. Like I love anybody who's been, I've lived many lives and I've had different really close friend groups in every like phase of life I've ever been in. I love every single one of those people that have been a part of my life in all the different realms that I've been in. And they all helped me get to here, but also letting go of them also helped me get here. And I had to know when to pivot and move on so they can also choose to pivot and move on to whatever direction they are meant to go. Because this is the direction I'm meant to go.
Right. Which how I've always said in the past and we've talked about before where people are always like, oh, you forgot where you came from. And it's like, I didn't forget where I came from because that's the damn motivator to why I'm not there anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
You don't forget about the hood because you get out of it. Like
Yeah.
it's the motivation to get out the hood.
100%.
And that's crazy that like, it's just people who want to remember you as being the one that was there. And like, not that you straight grew up in the hood, but like, it's the mentality of like anybody in that realm doesn't want to see you move on from it. And you're the bad guy if you do.
Right.
Which
is
fine in your
exactly
reality.
what we're talking about, your social gatherings and your social circles.
Because anybody above you or that like really loves you and wants to help you, they're going to be like push
Pull
you
you up.
along and and give you props for making those hard choices. And
It's funny. I was saying pull you up, and you were saying push you along.
I was thinking push you up. Like
where it's typically they're going to pull you up, or like the haters are going to push you down. So that's what
whatever.
But
Push me
you
in a
still
direction I'm trying to
right,
go.
Exactly.
Whatever happens.
You know, and the old saying is, you hang around 5 successful people, you're likely to be the 6th. You hang around 5 unsuccessful people, you're likely to be the 6th.
Science proves
It's-
it. Quantum physics. Like it's
What you do in your social time matters too. If you sit around 4 days a week doing nothing but aimlessly hanging out and not having relevant conversations, well, that's going to turn into 5 days.
Yeah. And just like we talked about in a previous episode, this is why sports are non-negotiable in our household, because in our daughter's free time, it's important that she is socializing with a group of kids that are her age and they're all working towards a goal towards each other and just all the things that sports allows. And that automatically is like 2, 3, now we're at 4 days a week, but like that's an automatic part of our schedule that is, it fills very many different like social battery, whatever.
Social cups.
Your social cups. There you go. But like in a productive way.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move
And
on.
then this transitions to
The last one is retail therapy.
somebody in this conversation's favorite. And it's not mine.
Whatever.
I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm just saying I think it's
important.
It's one of your favorite things.
I think, no, you joke with me and like it kind of is, but in comparison,
I'm not joking.
I know you're not.
You literally say there's a specific store that's your emotional support store.
TJ Maxx is my emotional support store. But it's important to be mindful of how you're spending your money. Like what cup is retail therapy filling for you?
And it's just labeled retail therapy, but all it really means is self-reward.
Yeah.
That's what we're really meaning there.
And sometimes it's self-sabotage if you don't catch it. Because I actually just read a book called Rich AF by Amanda Francis, and what she teaches is energetics behind money. And I like love that conversation. But a lot of us have like a wealth ceiling, and that's the like maximum amount that you can see yourself making or holding on to. And for many people, it's like you can't see yourself physically having more than like $5,000 in the bank, like, pretty low. And when you do have $10,000, all of a sudden you don't know what to do with it. And like subconsciously, you're going to book the cruise, you're going to buy the car, you're going to do whatever. And magically, you're going to get back down to that about 5,000 range because that's what your energetic money thermometer is set at. And that's a very subconscious thing that you obviously don't recognize. But that's why people typically stay in the same tax bracket and they hover around the same amount of comfort when it comes to money.
It's literally the same attitude that the service industry and drug dealers have.
Yeah.
They will spend money foolishly, recklessly, because why? Those are two traits where it's like,
tomorrow I'll go get it
just
back.
go make some money and that's fine.
I lived my life that way for a long time. Even while learning all these concepts,
Yeah.
I still
I would
lived my
look
life
at her
that way
like
for
even
a
when we
long
first
time.
started dating, she would do that. Not that she didn't have money, but if she had $5,000 and she'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go spend $1,400 on this," and I'm gonna be like, "What?"
Yeah. And
What?
as a like single moved across country, like woman by myself, like that was a lot more than I needed to like play with at the time. So like I spent it on, you know, having fun and stuff. But like until I really started to understand subconsciously why I was doing that and how I can actively make different decisions and how those different decisions were going to help get me to where I want to go. And that didn't mean like not spending money and not, you know, doing certain things. It was just like viewing it differently and allocating it differently and
You can
spending money because of the right reasons, not because energetically I was out of whack
Right.
and just needed to get it off my plate and I needed to fuel that with something I didn't actually need. Like I needed to make sure the exchange was healthy.
And I'm not saying that you should spend $1,400 when you only have $5,000, but if you're in a right state of mind and you're putting $1,400 of your $5,000 towards something that's going to change your life, that's a big difference,
Yeah.
right? If you're going on a trip, and here's a funny psychology thing. If you're going on a trip, let's say and you're in that mindset where it's like, oh, I can just make it back tomorrow. Then upgrade your flight seat to first class. Spend a few $100 extra and upgrade to first class. Because studies have shown people that stretch their budget on an experience, even though they technically don't have the money to do it, if they stretch the money on experience and you're in this mindset of like, I'm trying to better my life and
That's
I'm
the
working
key.
on it and I'm all this, if you're doing that in that state of mind, what it proves is now you're going to work twice as hard to make sure you don't have to sit anywhere other than first class ever again.
You
It's
have
just
now
an
increased
extra-
your wealth ceiling. That's
Correct.
exactly what that does.
Yeah. So
It opens up the possibilities. It opens up the opportunity. So now you're taking this trip instead of it just being a get drunk and a fun heyday for like you and your friends. Now you've created this trip in order to put you in a new wealth bracket and make
Correct.
that your new standard. And then if
And if
again, you're
that's-
looking at it through that lens, you're going to learn things on this trip that you couldn't have learned
correct.
anywhere else.
100%.
And
You're not just going to willy-nilly it and just be like, oh, I can't wait. I'm free of this. I'm free of that. No, take your trip and do it as a learning experience. Or again, like this doesn't have to be anything other than something great where you can, instead of just calling it retail therapy, like we had said, it's just self-reward, right? Like go get your ice cream.
And that's important. Self-reward is a big part of personal development, but you do it with the intention because.
But even if it's not, if something that's just like, oh, I had a rough day and you want to like go reset. Again, if you're in the healthy mind, having an ice cream or go eating out and having a nice meal, like it's a reminder of you sometimes you do need to settle down and reap some of the benefits that you have been fighting for.
100%, because otherwise,
But you
your
have to
body
be
and
able
your
to do it healthily in a
your
healthy manner.
Yeah, your subconscious doesn't want to keep going after those things if you're not telling your subconscious and yourself and in every realm that like these things are good and they're adding value and this was worth it. So yeah, self-reward is super important. But I guess the overarching thing of this entire conversation is you have to be intentional. Screen time isn't the worst thing in the world, but what can you do to make it more intentional? Same with reading. Like, how can you add reading intentionally into your day? How can you?
And again, I forgot to mention, I don't think, it doesn't have to be a book.
Right.
Even if you're reading magazine articles or you're reading paragraphs of stories or...
You used to read like reports and stuff.
That's what I used to do. So before, Twitter became X and it's just even more of a
Whatever
mindless scroll now, I used to follow a lot of like primetime source outlets for what was happening, things to come, things to worry about in our economy. And like
Sports.
that's where I would find it all. And I'm reading, 1,000 to 2,000 word articles at a time, but I'm reading 10 to 30 a day. And it's not like I'm sitting here and someone's going, let me tell you about my experience at IHOP today. And then I just read their 1,000 words rant about whatever. Like I'm not that reading, but that's where I got most of my reading before I transitioned to wanting to read about books that are now going to pertain to the future of where we want to be. So,
100%. And then same with, family time, just making sure you're intentional about how much family time you actually want. Some people don't want that much family time. We're obsessed with our family.
That's wild. Yeah, it's weird to me. I don't know why you'd have a kid and you're just like, I had a kid to have a kid. Like,
yeah, unfortunately, that's terrible. That is the situation for a lot of people. Probably not the people we're going to attract here, because obviously we're talking to people who have a specific mindset or goals.
Yeah, there are people that might come by and they checked out after minute 3 because you're like, oh, this doesn't talk about people who wore their shoes on the wrong foot today.
No, oh goodness, the image in my head was just ridiculous.
Let's run down the list as we wrap this up. So number 1 was screen time. Number 2,
reading.
Number 3,
family time.
Number 4,
socialization.
And number 5,
retail therapy, but I kind of want to reword that to whatever you want it to be.
Well, we have a retail therapy because that's our version of self-care.
Yeah. One of my
goals... We have self-care as in, like, we do our skin routines, we have this, we have that, blah, blah, blah. But, like, when we want to do something, it's actively spending money is when we want to reward ourselves. Like, so it's not I'm going to sit and enjoy the nice cozy day and just watch TV all day as a decompression, relax time, as a self-reward for how hard I just worked for the last week at work. Like, ours is, let's go buy something, but we're going to buy something that is going to be valuable to us and not that we're going to throw away in a week because it's in the way.
And don't get me wrong, I definitely buy things I don't need to buy that could just get thrown away or lose. That's a sore subject, and I'm not ready to go there yet. But I do it in a way that makes sense. I do it in a way that, like, it's not to overcompensate. It's not to, like, so just make sure you're mindful of those things. I also did it at a certain period of time to specifically grow our wealth capacity.
Yeah.
And that was a conversation we had where, like, we almost needed to slow down with our spending. But then we had a conversation and decided that we want to be able to spend that X amount of money and still be okay.
Yep.
All right. So what are we going to do about it? The answer wasn't to spend less. It was to make more. So sometimes that's important. Exactly. So just being specific about that and all those things and intentional, because when you got big goals like this, we don't have time to waste. We don't have energy to waste. And I think there's a time and a place for everything. But right now, while we're in the prime of the building, and it's like that for X amount of years, and this is a growth journey forever, but, like, there are times when you can take your foot off the gas more and you put it on more, and it depends on how old your family is and what your goals are and X, Y, Z. So obviously the answer is going to be different to everybody, but, like, right now it's grind time, and I personally enjoy the grind. I love it. And it's important to be really specific about these things.
I hope you guys like this episode. I hope it opens your mind. I hope it makes you think about other things that you might not think about in a daily, even if you think about even more complex things or less complex things.
Can I tell you how, I just have to out us real quick. We put a 35-minute timer on the TV. We ran past through that, and then a new timer started, and it's already halfway done. So we really have to work on the rambling, but I think we have a lot of good things to say. So it is what it is. And you have to go get our daughter.
I set the timer for you.
I know. And I'm sitting here staring at it.
But I purposely set the 35-minute timer for a 45-minute episode because I knew you go over. So we're at about 43 minutes. So with that being said, I know. With that being said, as always, peace up, A-Town down.